Hello, my loves. Welcome back to Chemistry with Kismet Tarot. I am Monica, the Kismet Chemist. If you are new to my channel, welcome to the family. I am honored to have you here. If you are returning, welcome back. I have missed you. First off, I want to start with saying thank you. Thank you to each and every one of you, whether you are new or you have been with me from the start or since, Lexi shared my video or one of my collaborations, however long you've been here. Thank you. The love, the support, the amount of just inspiration and uplifting energy that I find from this community, from each and every one of you, is life-changing, life-altering, and it is a saving grace. I have been moving through a lot of things in my life. I am still working through a lot of healing, a lot of deep subconscious mindsets, wounds, things that I have ignored, things that I didn't realize were there, things that I was creating illusions surrounding. And when I set this reading up with the intention that it was going to be originally what illusions are being stripped away, it was chaos in my life. And so many things came to the surface. Now, I am coming to the very tail end of my own personal 12th house transit at the end of my 12th house perfection year, and it packed a punch. The 12th house is all about mysteries and illusions, but the unconscious, subconscious, collective, the psychic realm, the spirit realm, so much is contained. And I've learned so much, and I'm still moving through those lessons. The grace that I have found with this community, when I make a post and I say, hey guys, I have every intention of filming this, but right now is not the right time. And I'm moving through things. I'm coping. These are some of the things that I'm doing. The responses I'm so in awe of. Those responses are not because of me, but it's because of the compassion, the empathy, the grace, the awareness, and the love that each and every one of you hold. When I sat down today to cleanse this area, to prep, to get into this energy, your guides and ancestors were ready, and they had a point to make. This reading is not about illusions that are being stripped away, but about what illusions you yourself are choosing to lift. That is a powerful distinction because it shows who you are, your strength, your emotional, spiritual, mental awareness, and the work that you're doing. Your guides, your ancestors, collectively for everyone, want to make it very clear in the very beginning and throughout this message to give yourself gratitude as much as you give to me, to spirit, to them, to other people, to circumstances, whatever it is that you are thankful for, that you say thank you, that you find gratitude in your heart and soul for. They want you to be sure that you are giving that to yourself just as much and on the regular is what I just heard. So without further ado, we have 4 piles, 4 signifier cards. These represent your current energy. Pile 1, we have the Waker, which is fire energy. Pile 2, we have the Muse, which is earth energy. Pile 3, we have the Botanist, which is also earth energy. And pile 4, we have the Runaway, which is water energy. At the beginning of each reading, I will go over what each of the oracle cards that we're going to pull are, what the intention for the tarot cards are, and we'll get deeper into these messages. I'm going to go ahead and put on some meditation music for you guys, let you sit with the energy, get in touch, get in tune, trust yourself, trust your knowing, and I will see you at your piles. Hello, pile 1. How are you guys today? You can just tell me in the comment section below. No, really, it's okay. I'll wait. Okay, I'll get back to you as soon as I see it. Anyway, pile 1. All right. I opened my mouth to start talking and everything left. We're talking about what illusions you are lifting. We can talk about the lifting of the veil and talk about coming to revelations and awarenesses. But when it comes down to the illusions and the ones that we weave for ourselves, those are the hardest ones to see. Those are the most challenging aspects of ourselves to see. To be honest with ourselves about perceptions and beliefs and how we're operating, even outside of the realm of in interpersonal relationships, at work, at the store, within the spiritual community, whatever it is. When we have to, not even have to, but when we're called to take a deep look at ourselves, there's a soul deep awareness that there is the potential for destruction of self. When I was shuffling your cards and getting ready and getting prepared, I was looking at the Waker card, and it says awareness and reflection, but I'm caught by the clouds, and it's so windy today in Minot. It's so windy, and the sky keeps alternating between being this beautiful blue with fluffy clouds, and then suddenly gray storm clouds will cover the entire sky. The wind will kick up an additional notch, which out here it's powerful. And everything seems a little bit darker, a little bit harder. And then I was drawn to the fact that the Waker card is a fire card. not air, but fire. When we awaken the fire within ourselves, sometimes our fire, our flame, our spark, our light, whatever you want to title it, our fire within, it's raging out of control and we don't realize. When you feed a fire, you have to feed it with oxygen. That's why anytime you see any kind of survival, anything out in the world, when they're, trying to light a fire, they blow on the embers. But if you blow too hard, you blow the spark completely out. There is a balance to how you blow on the embers in order to ignite the flames. And then I was shown the movie Backdraft. And Backdraft, if any of you guys have seen it, is about firefighters and the nature of fires and loss and overcoming loss. And it's a beautiful movie. It makes me cry every time I watch it. But there is a scene in Backdraft, and it's incredibly insightful for a lot of things that people don't necessarily know when it comes to fires inside of a building. The reason why firefighters will break out all the windows and knock down all the doors is not just because they want to make sure that there are ways out for the people in the building that's on fire. It's because when there is a fire and there is a closed air source, if that air source breaks open, the pressure builds and it explodes. So there's a scene in that where one of the doors shut in a building that's on fire. The windows haven't been knocked out, and you can see the smoke pulling right back into that room. Now, if there was no airflow whatsoever in that room, the fire would eventually die. But because of that crack, there's just enough oxygen to build. And it explodes. The illusion has to do with your truth and how you share it and how you're meant to share it. I went through a phase very similar to this energy in which I thought if I spoke louder, spoke longer, was more clear, less emotional, more emotional, if I used metaphors, if I used similes, if I dumbed down my language, if I spoke to the magnitude of my true intellectual nature, that's when I'll be heard. That's when it would matter. That's when I will find the people that are meant to be in my life. Pile 1, you have this awareness within you that you're here to help people awaken, open their eyes, realize the truth. You are the waker. To traverse a world as the waker, one must open all eyes. Once all eyes are open, it is up to the seer, the waker, the seer, to recognize the time that must be spent in front of the mirror. Your guides and ancestors, and especially your ancestors, it's so strong with this pile, want you to realize that each moment in front of that mirror that you have spent coming to this level of awareness, coming to this depth of reflection, everything that you've gone through that has led you right back to that mirror, to looking within yourself, to looking on the surface and then going deeper. They couldn't have done it. It was for you to do. Now I'm caught by the fact that your current energy is this waker, and you can see this eye is wide open. Now the signifier or the energy of these cards, this is the Solitary Witch Oracle deck, and this represents your magical self. And I'm using the seasons of the witch. This is the Beltane. This is Mabon. This is Samhain. Beltane was May 1st. Mabon is September 22nd this year. And Samhain is October 31st through November 1st. So your magical self, as well as this Beltane one, which represents the recent past that was the call for you to go deeper. I'm caught by the fact that in both of these cards, their eyes are closed, except for one figure. One figure, it's up to you to determine, are her eyes closed, or has she turned away and is looking out the mirror? Both of these cards contain multiple people. I just heard it's a hard journey, a hard road, being the one that sees and the one that knows. Surrounded by the blinded, blindfolded, the ones who choose, and this is the key, pile one, surrounded by the ones who choose not to see. Your magical self knows that there are true connections out there for you. Ones built in magic, ones that understand that magic isn't just fairy dust and castles and princes and waving a wand. Magic is the darkness. It's when the moon no longer can be seen in the sky at night, when the clouds roll in and it's nothing but darkness. And you understand that there is a lesson within this place. You are the waker, but you're not. There's a way to approach it sometimes that we don't always see. This is what you have moved into as far as lifting the illusions from your eyes. I don't have to change myself. I don't have to fill in the blank. Just like I said before, all the different ways in which I thought I needed to shift and change how I was and how I spoke. I didn't need to do that to be heard. I simply needed to know that where I was, I may have been alone, but I was not lonely. Your soul family, the true joy of the people that you connect with, they're with you in spirit. And if you feel that, understand that, are aware of that, it eases the tension and the stress of feeling like you are surrounded by people living in a completely different world than you are. whether it was around Beltane or I'm hearing in bulk. So that would have been between February and May until now. This chant card is the energy that pulled you in. And it says, hear me loud, hear me roar, for I am here in my truth. They have their eyes closed and they're dancing and there's bees all around them. And they're all holding hands. Whatever transpired during that time, think back. And it could have been a different year than the one that you're watching. If you're not watching when this posts, think about the time frame between February and March historically in your own personal life and things that have happened, transpired between you and other people, how that has shaped your belief in whether or not you can be your truest self, share your truest self, and embody your truest self in the realm of friendship, in the realm of connections. There may have been a backdraft within you of holding your passions at bay, holding your truths at bay, trying to figure out the way that it was meant to work, holding it all in. It may have exploded outward. An unsuspecting person knocking on the door, all of it built up. Whatever the situation was, the key is realizing that the truth will set you free. The truth is what elevates you and allows you to see amidst the clouds in the sky, even if there is no light that evening, that night, even if the gray storm clouds roll in and the sun gets blotted out and the world gets washed in gray, you can still see. If someone or some of you here had a moment in which you said, I don't know my truth. What is my truth? What is the truth? You were heard. You were heard. So let's take a look at the Mabon cards. Mabon is the autumnal equinox. It marks the beginning of Libra season. This may be significant for you. It may be significant based off of last year's Libra season. You may have Libra in your chart or be dealing with people with strong Libra energy and Libra placements. But more than anything, this is more about the energy of release and accepting that when we go through the second harvest of Mabon, it's a preparation stage because we know the impending winter. We know the days are going to get shorter, the nights are going to get longer. So we prepare ourselves. We give gratitude, we give thanks, we give forgiveness. We move forward, honoring all that came before. So let's find out what is being released for you to shift into your divine truth. Now, you guys actually got 2 cards for this placement. So let's check them out. I love this. We have Darkness Falls. Within you live the hidden things that want nothing more than to swallow you whole. I love that. This is that backdraft energy, and I love that there's a mirror on this card. Oh my gosh, I am just, oh, wow. Okay, and then we have Peppers, the card 28. Be fierce about the ways in which you protect yourself. Allies await, allies await. You guys, this is exactly it. When you know that your soul family is out there and you understand that we are all connected to one another, you don't have to ever feel like you are screaming in a room full of people with no one hearing you. That's how you feed the darkness. When you believe that you are not heard, you enter, or you, sorry, I just hit my pen. You guys, when you believe something, that's what you bring about. So if you believe that you're not being heard, you're not being seen, you're not being, it's like no one's taking you seriously. The more that you believe that, the more you're feeding that flame behind the closed door, the more it stands to explode. But if you think about peppers carry heat with them sometimes, unless it's bell pepper. But they have these bright colors and they can burn, but they also nourish. They know the balance. So the time is coming. The more that you reflect, the more that you allow yourself to step into this truth, to step into this awareness that you have this ability within you, that you can see the truth. And it starts within you. You stop living in that shadow phase, in that shadow energy. And I'm not talking about going through a dark night of the soul. I am talking about living from the shadow. When we live from the shadow, we are the fire behind that door. We do not realize we're the fire behind that door, but we are. Bring the shadow to the light and realize that it marks the cycles. Your shadow marks the cycles every single day. When you go outside, look down and see your shadow. It's telling you where the sun is, how close it is to evening, how close it is to nightfall. Your shadow is teaching you how to recognize the cycles of light and dark. The shadow is not evil. It is not bad, and you do not contain that within yourself either. It's a part of you that is meant to be in the light. It doesn't mean that it won't be a shadow. It means that it will be seen. An awareness of our shadow means that we can recognize when it manifests, how it manifests, and the way that we allow for ourselves to act and react from that manifestation within. So I want to see a little bit more about the story. The Five of Wands, the back of the deck energy. It's funny because normally the Five of Wands talks about conflict, competition, being up against enemies or training for something. But it's almost giving me an Othello vibe with this one, with cat with a paw on the skull. But I got stuck on the pentagram behind it. We can fight to have our truths heard. We can fight to be seen, fight to be heard. We can have all of this awareness, but if we do not realize the shadows are telling us that we have to keep fighting, that we have to keep doing these things, or some darkness will befall us, or we will be attacked, bombarded, betrayed, deceived. If we continue to feed that, then that's what we experience. The pentagram used to be considered evil, but it's so powerful, ancient, and filled with such goodness. Anything and everything can be good. Anything and everything can be bad. It depends upon the person utilizing it. This is a lesson I feel as though you have learned recently regarding your own shadow. Let's look at the cards. We've got the Queen of Swords. This is very much that hear me roar energy. I apologize if you guys can hear the noise. Like I said, the wind is ridiculously loud. Okay. The Seven of Wands. See, a lot of defensiveness. The Ace of Swords and the Chariot. Okay. Okay, pile one. We can find ourselves in these situations in which we have a perception of clarity. But when we take that clarity and we distort it with some sort of emotional energy, we're identifying our clarity with our emotions instead of allowing our emotions to give us clarity. That's when we find that we are coming up against people and we feel like we have to be on the defensive all the time. If you are the Queen of Swords, why are you acting out of the Seven of Wands energy? If you are clear and know and understand, why do you take a knife to a gunfight? Why are you in that fight in the first place? These are questions, likely not in this manner, but questions of this nature arising within you, or that have in the past, recent past, risen within you. Because the truth of clarity here is that it doesn't matter whether we're wearing the crown, because the crown itself was gifted to us by spirit. We do not own the crown. And when we believe that that is ours, when we are in this energy and we believe that's ours, that's when our clarity is stuck like an ostrich with its head in the sand. We want to have victory. We want to know the truth, whatever the truth is. We want to know our path, our purpose, where we're meant to be, where we belong, have a greater level of awareness so that we can engage in these friendships and flow together with others. There's a powerful lesson I feel like you have learned that the people around you likely don't know. You may know some people who do, but it may feel a lot like your day-to-day life. You are masking, acting a robot, pretending, because others don't know what you know and see what you see. Your truth comes from your higher self, and your higher self comes from the divine. The truth is divine, and divine is love, and love is divine, which means that sometimes it's about separating yourself from what you know and what you speak, and realizing that the divine will work how it needs to. Moving forward, you have this blessing of having both the light and the dark in your awareness, full conscious awareness, having all the shadow right there in your conscious mind, so that when you go to bed, when you wake up, you're aware. Am I operating out of my consciousness, or am I operating out of a shadow distortion? And that's a beautiful, beautiful way to live your life, because you see how it's not for you to change anybody else's mind or opinion or truth. It's for you to understand your own and move that way, so that when you're surrounded by people with their eyes closed and you have all three open, it doesn't feel like you have to fight to be seen, heard, or to justify that which you know to be true within yourself. We're going to get one final message here. This is a message from your ancestors. Transformation 39. Like 1,000 storms held in hands, soft against the winds, there is change arising from deep within. I just heard many have come before you. They walked a path and set a stage, all for you to take it, stand in the center, to be the lead, the star, the main character. Those around you may not understand you, but your ancestors, they manifested you. They knew that you would be here. They intended for you to be the one to make this transformation, to shed the titles, the identity, the definitions, to shed this pattern of holding it in and exploding out and holding it in and exploding out. To live fully in the light, understanding that that means that you are also simultaneously living fully in the darkness. You are a beacon of transformation, and you are not chosen, you are prayed for. You were prayed for. Your coming was prayed for by many, many before you. Wow. Wow. Pile one, this is the message I have for you. Wow. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you. You guys are amazing. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you to your guides, my guides, your ancestors, and the Great Spirit for connecting, flowing, harmonizing this energy, bringing these messages forth and allowing me to be the channel to reach the collective of Pile One. Thank you. Pile One, if you would like to do deeper meditative insight into this message, there is a post on my community tab. If you just go to my YouTube page and go to the community tab, there is a post on there that has 4 pictures with the smoke cleanse that I did prior, and the ashes of that are in here prior to filming today for you to gaze upon, meditate upon, and open yourself to receiving messages regarding anything and everything that you may be needing additional from this message. So feel free to go check that out. I hope that you find what you are looking for. I hope it brings you peace. I hope you guys pat yourself on the back and feel that gratitude. And as always, if you guys are interested, if you guys enjoyed this reading, resonated with it, a really great way to support me and my channel is to like the video, comment, let me know. Do you guys have reading requests? Let me know. I love interacting with you. It's awesome. Share your stories, anything you want. Please feel free to do that. If you are not yet subscribed, please feel free to hit that subscription button. If you don't want to turn on your notifications, totally get it, guys. I don't do that either. I'm OCD. I don't like the little red bubbles on my phone. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed the reading and want to do an energetic return, you can always do any of those things. You can donate to my channel. The link is in the description box as well as the about section on my page. And you can, just support my channel. Watch the ads, whatever, what have you. Yeah. Or don't watch them. I like what ASO suggests when she says, Don't watch the ads. I wouldn't ask you to do that. I'm not a monster. I thought that was one of the funniest things I had heard. Do something in the background. Play a game on your phone. Cry. Whatever. Pet your cat or dog. But pile one, I have drug out the ending. I have this kind of like head in the clouds, feet on the ground, peace energy after doing this reading for you guys. So I really, really want you to know how grateful I am for you. And stick around. I've got some special stuff coming. I love you guys. I'll see you at your next reading. Bye. Hello, pile two. You chose the second card, the Muse. Let's jump directly into what illusions are you lifting? Now, I got to tell you guys, your energy in this pile is dramatically different than what I've been working with. Spirit, what's the word for it? It just is. So the Muse card says generosity and naivety. And it talks about celebrating what we have in our cup and knowing what we have in our cup and then giving generously of the excess. But it also talks about a sort of naive way of operating in the world in which you believe if you give enough, if you just give and give and give and give and give and give, your cup will be full. Whether it's from someone else filling it up or you'll suddenly realize, hey, I've given enough and my cup is suddenly full. But that way of thinking that you don't need to protect yourself and you don't need to employ the earth element and the grounded mindsets that come with it. The illusion here is that realism and idealism are different. The illusion, and this is so crazy because I didn't get the actual like full-blown illusion when I was channeling for pile one. I'm just going to tell you guys because your energy is so different and the guides are like, you can say it. So for pile one, I didn't get the full scope of what the illusion was. It was kind of this needing to leave things where they were and just kind of talk. But with you guys, it's an illusion of what constitutes realism, what constitutes idealism, and how do you blend those together and just be. So before I go any further, I'm going to explain the cards a little bit here. Up here, we have the Solitary Witch Oracle. This is your magical self, like the magical energy that you have accessible to you, that you are sitting in right now. Then I'm working with the Seasons of the Witch Oracle. We are in the season of Letha. Lammas is coming up on August 1st. But Beltane, which is what this oracle is, was May 1st. So I wanted to look at the recent past and what it was that kind of brought you to lifting these illusions, whether they are illusions of others, illusions of self. And then we have in the middle of the Mabon oracle. Mabon is the autumnal equinox. It is occurring on September 22nd this year. And it signifies an equal time between day and night. And it also kicks off Libra season. And then this card is about a coming release that is going to shift your inner divine truth. And then we have the Samhain Oracle here. Samhain is also known as Halloween or All Hallows Eve, and it is on October 31st. This is ancestral wisdom that is within your awareness or awakening within your awareness, gifted from your ancestors. The tarot cards are going to give a greater explanation about what's going on with your energy, with this lifting of the illusions. And this back of the deck energy tells me the kind of contextual overall. So I got to tell you, Pile 2, I love this energy. This is, I'm really, okay. I'm surprised to see the earth element, because I would have said you guys have a lot more fire here, but it's really nice because I can feel how amplified my third eye is, how amplified my crown chakra is, tapping into your guys' energy. But I don't feel like I am slipping in and out of conscious awareness. I feel like there are times where I can recognize that there's more information coming in and I need to pause before I speak. But I feel like my feet are planted quite firmly on the ground. And this is the ideal energy that I would say is what I like to tap into when I'm writing, whether it's blog, whether it's book, whether it is, channeling poems or channeling messages for you guys in written form. This is the energy that I like to be in. But with the Muse card, with this generosity and naivety, I get this energy of like, screw what everybody says. Here's what realism actually looks like. And that is where you have found a lifting. It's like so I used to be the kind of person who would expect the worst of other people. And at the same time, I'd see their potential and I would love them and want to nurture that. But I would expect the worst, not the worst in their behaviors in the outside world. I wouldn't expect them to like break the law or anything like that. I would expect the worst to come at me. I would diminish myself and my shine and my truth and my everything and expect awful things to happen to me. And those people would prove me right. And I'd get in this mindset of I give and I give and I give. What is going on? Why? Why is it like this? And then I withdrew. And I'd go through those cycles. I went through those cycles for years of my life. Until I realized, and thankfully this came from an interaction back in December, really, where I realized the people that believe that they can take advantage of kindness are the people who take their own kindness for granted. Once you realize that they're taking their generosity and kindness for granted, and so they hoard and they hold, and then they lash out at the people who are showing them a part of themselves that they contain within themselves, but they're scared to show that because this world is big and bad and scary and ugly. And you know what? This world does have its moments of being big and bad and scary and ugly, but this world is also beautiful and magical and mystical and inspirational and so generous. There are so many bountiful blessings at our fingertips if we just walk out the front door and open our eyes and realize that literally everything in this world has some purpose and some use. And a lot of the things that have a purpose and a use that we deem as inanimate objects, plants, trees, stones, their purpose can only be fulfilled when we interact with them. Otherwise, their purpose lies dormant within them. And we can realize that we have the same kind of a reflectionary principle as these inanimate objects when we are interacting with people that do not see their own purpose within themselves. Our purpose lies fallow. And it's not because you're being too idealistic, and it's not because you're being too utopian in your vision. It's because you've been clouding your sight with wanting to be the best version of yourself without infusing it with a dose of reality, which is beautiful. It's beautiful, pile 2. It may not seem like it's beautiful, but it literally is. Why? Because now you see that you can give and give and give and give because you have so many cups, so many things, so many blessings at your disposal. I went to my husband's workshop the other day. Work space shop, not a workshop. He works for an oil company. And he had to go in, he got called in off hours, and he's like, you want to come with, like, just hang out? He's got a dartboard there. Anyway, in spirit, help me get back to the point. There is a purpose behind this story. I had this ache in my elbow for my Ehlers-Danlos. And so I was like, I should probably give this joint a rest. You know, I don't want to tear anything. I'm showing signs of, I think it's tennis elbow or golfer's elbow, whichever one is on the inside. Same thing, different side. And so I went walking and I looked out the bay door, and across the parking lot, there's this field of wildflowers. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go over there. So I went over there. And if you guys don't know, the Google app has this really awesome feature where you can search. It's image search. You search based off of an image you take to find out what it is. And I was curious about what these things were. So I took pictures and I found out it was wild alfalfa and wild sweet clover and wild sunflowers, and I found blue rosemary just kind of growing in the wild. And I was like, this is amazing. These are things that you would normally buy in a store or need to go and find, but some seeds have spread so far and wide that this season, this summer in particular, because we've never seen it before out here, they are growing everywhere. And so I picked them, I dried them. I've been using them in spells. I've been using them in intention waters, healing waters. I've been using the blue rosemary blue rosemary in different kitchen witchery stuff. And it adds this very wild, grounding energy to it. And I love it. This is actually some of the alfalfa and sweet clover. When we realize that we can literally look out our door, look out our window and see these things and allow ourselves to get curious, that's when we awaken this part of the muse within us that sees the world for what it is, that sees people for what they are, and still is generous and kind and giving and loving and willing to gather together with other people. And now we're going into your magical self with the gathering. This is you realizing that You are your own person. You hold all of these things within you. But because your view has shifted, your perspective has shifted, your truth is becoming more fluid and shifting, there is a desire awakening to share it while remaining individuated, not separate, but individuated, remaining your unique self, your unique expression and perception, but still coming together with others to celebrate the things that we have at our disposal. I was journaling the other day and I was sitting there thinking to myself, you know, a lot of us wonder why we were born into this modern age. We can feel like it's too fast. There's too much chaos, too much war, too much conflict, too many people on their computers, hidden at home, deciding to spread negativity through typing on a screen. There's a lot of that. But when else in history can humanity say that we have had spiritual tools readily accessible to us? To this magnitude, to this quantity. I would venture at saying only the ancients, and that's because to the ancients, our ancient ancestors, everything was a spiritual tool. And they are the ones who have taught me through my journey to also view everything as a spiritual tool. Consult the wisdom and knowledge that has been passed down, but trust in the energy, trust in the message, trust in the guidance, and allow that to shape the uniqueness. Allow that to be the muse. And when you do that and you gather with others, now you're becoming a muse to others. And you don't have to pour out of anything in order to do that. You simply are you. You do it in a multitude of ways, from going on a morning walk and smiling and waving at somebody that you don't know, but you're passing by, or opening your windows and listening to the birds chirping and singing their morning songs, communicating with each other, engaging in meditation, contemplation, reflection, singing, dancing, listening to music, learning an instrument, learning a language, going out and sun tanning, going out and dancing in the grass, regardless of whether anybody can see you, just doing it because it makes you feel fulfilled and vibrant and alive and generous. And you can feel the generosity of the sun in the sky and the clouds and the wind and the birds and this earth that we live on. And the desire to share, to be generous of that. It doesn't make you naive thinking that we could be kind individuals, because we all can. It doesn't make you naive because you know that some people simply aren't. But they aren't because they have not reached that level of awareness and consciousness to tell them that it's possible to break the mold. But pile 2, you have. And that is utterly magical in and of itself. So the card that from the Mabon deck from the Beltane deck, I'm not even going to try and pick it up. My nails won't allow. And I get why. This is the recent past situation that highlighted a call to evaluate deeper. The card says embodiment, and it says, now unsown from the flesh, a most alluring lullaby stills my pain as the skies bleed for my heart and the embodiment I am to claim. And it has a woman, an elderly woman, and she's got her finger out and there's a butterfly on it. And I don't know how well you guys can see it. I'm actually kind of hoping that it's just as bright as it is on my screen, because as these cards came out, I thought it was so beautiful that even though it's a cloud-filled day, because my desk is right by the window, the light that is coming through still has it so pure and bright that it's like you've just embodied the natural essence of your light flowing with the earth, not caring what you look like, not caring what other people think about you. When we are called to embody the fullness of ourselves, our truth, who we are, the softer side, the nurturing side, the warrior side, whatever it is, when we're called to embody, it means that we have to not don any armor, not put on any mask or costume or anything like that. We are asked to shed everything, to bare ourselves utterly nakedly, and do it in full view of the world. It is challenging. It can be challenging. If you're someone who's grown up with nothing but utter confidence, maybe it wouldn't be. But this is a calling that is asking you to literally just bare your soul in whatever situation it is in your life, whether it's with your family, your friends, your community, with some sort of creative project, creative group. You're being asked, or you were asked to go through a phase where you needed to fully embody your truest self. And I don't know about you guys, but when I was asked to do that, my first thought was, am I not already? And I realized I really wasn't. I really wasn't. When you realize how many illusions you've been clouding yourself with, and that embodiment call comes in, and you do what you did, pile two, you step into it, feet planted firmly on the ground, crown wide open. What a sight to see. The coming release that's going to help fully shift this inner divine truth for you is this Scarecrow card, card number 34. Remember that you are not alone. Move with confidence as you are guided. I find it so beautifully synchronistic because I was out on a walk this morning and I almost took a picture of a garden I walked by that had a scarecrow out. And I was like, wouldn't it be funny if the crows were still sitting there because they had learned to get along? They had learned to flow together. The crow's not eating the corn, but rather just communing with the scarecrow. And as I was shuffling, this is the card that came out. A scarecrow stands and oftentimes is a lone figure in a field. But you're surrounded by the corn. You're surrounded by the essence of the earth, the birds in the air, and the farmer in the field. The scarecrow is never alone, though it may seem that way. That's the beauty of your magical self. You realize individuation in the embodiment of the truest nature of who you are, that idealist, realist. It may set you apart as unique, but it doesn't mean that you're alone. It doesn't mean that you have to be lonely. It doesn't mean that you are separate, that you are not worthy, that you are rejected, that you cannot be or do or whatever. It truly means that you are following the guidance of your heart, your soul, your ancestors, your guides, Mother Earth, the Great Spirit, everything. You're trusting it. And because of that, you're moving into a new phase so that you realize that you are learning how to move with confidence. Now, the King of Pentacles, that's the overarching context here. He is mighty, mighty confident of an energy. And I love this particular King of Pentacles because it reminds me of, I think it's Toulouse is the name of the cat from Aristocats. And I think about how, is Toulouse a little orange one or is he the little, anyway, whichever one it was that plays the piano. I think about how he, sat down at the piano and he made it a point to stretch out his paws and crack every knuckle and be very confident and just kind of exuded that to sit and go do, 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 and play two little keys. I love that because it says I can do the simplest thing, but I will do it with elegance, with grace, with confidence, knowing this. But when his brother and his sister came over to the piano, they joined with him. And he still played to his best, but he didn't stop and pull himself out of the rhythm and the flow and the harmony. He didn't disengage from that action. He played with them, but did his own thing. And this is what you're learning how to do. It's like, I'm going to learn how to play with others, play well with others. And the ones who in the past have said, you'll be hurt, you'll do this, it won't be this way, or I want from you, I need from you, and just take and take and take and take and take until they deplete you and then feel as though you're leaving them behind, you're doing something wrong when you need your replenished time. Those people are no longer in your energy field, or if they're still in your life, they no longer impact your energy field the same way because you recognize that what they're seeking from you is something that they contain within themselves, and you're capable of simply embodying the reflection of that and not depleting yourself for them. And I just heard no as a full sentence. Learning that no is a full sentence can be a difficult journey, especially for people pleasers, but it's a powerful one as well. Let's get a little bit more information from the cards before we find out your ancestral wisdom. Yes. 9 of Swords. Okay. The Page of Cups. The 7 of Pentacles. And the Ace of Swords. I love this. I love, love, love this. Okay. So what your ancestors want you to know, your ancestors, your guides want you to know, they want to acknowledge something for you. There was a time in which you tormented yourself surrounding your dreams, your hopes, your wishes, your goals, the things that you wanted to do, the person that you believe you are, the person that you truly are. You tormented yourself over it. Why? Because somebody somewhere said, you can't have this. This doesn't belong to you. This isn't how you're meant to be, whatever it was. There was some thought form that made you feel like you were the fish in the bowl, when really you were the cat staring at the fish. The fish is what you desire. The fish isn't in an ocean. It's not in a river or a lake. It's sitting in a bowl. And if you want the fish, all you have to do is dip your paw in and grab it. You are the cat, but you didn't realize at the time. So going through a 9 of Swords is going through this mental anguish of, what am I doing with my life? Who am I? How do I do this? What do I want to create? How do I want to create? How do I want to interact? And for you to be in the Muse energy with this 9 of Swords energy down here, next to the Page of Cups, is telling me that the concept and the notion of being a muse for others and being creative and engaging in anything that makes you feel as though you're embodying your true self felt like more work than what it was worth. More work than what it was worth. But you did your due diligence. You have been doing the work. You're going to continue to do exactly what you need to do, because there is this clarity coming in as you lift these illusions from you. And the clarity is that you have this autonomy, you have this sovereignty, you have the authority to choose your path and your purpose and your inspiration, and then to embody that and move forward in the world that way. To gather together with others, to attract those of like-minded heart and soul, who also know how to stand in their uniqueness without sacrificing themselves or without hurting you. And you gather together and you recognize the resources and the blessings and the abundance that exists within each one and within this world. I'm amazed. Pile 2. I'm awe-inspired by you guys, because this is a great feat, and it feels like you shifted something rapidly in your life. So let's find out what ancestral wisdom is available to you. Oh my God. The Underworld, card number 40. It says, hand over your known, a shift is near. Take a leap, your journey is clear. You see, the ancestral wisdom that you have available to you is that you understand it all now. Just like the Gathering card, you're letting go of what isn't needed anymore. That perception that you can't see things clearly and still be a genuinely good person. It's shedding whatever anyone, including yourself, has ever said about what you can't do, can't be, can't perceive. And you're just deciding, this is what I've always known. I don't want to know this anymore. I don't want to know this anymore. I want to know this. I want to know this. I want to know the embodiment. I want to know the muse. I want to know creativity. I want to know spirit. I want to know myself. I want to know this world. I want to know magic. I want to know all of that. So I'm going to turn over everything that I have known and engage with everything of the unknown. And I'm going to do it with the confidence of a very grounded, ethereal energy, because it's just simply who I am. And I just saw 33:22 on the clock. And it's 3:33 on my other clock. Whoa. Wow. Okay. So this is what I have for you, pile 2. Whoa. Pile 2. Interesting. I'm going to leave it here. I want to say thank you so much. Just thank you for this energy, for the inspiration, for being here on the channel. Thank you to your guides, my guides, the Great Spirit, all of our ancestors, for gathering together today, for bringing these messages forward, for helping us all remember collectively to be grateful for ourselves, because we're the ones doing the work in the physical world, and we can often take that for granted. sometimes the reminder is needed, and it is truly a blessing. So thank you. And thank you for these messages for pile 2. All right, my lovely pile 2s. If this resonated and you want to do an equal energy exchange, I would love that, obviously. Comment in the comment section below, like this video, subscribe to my channel. If you don't want to hit the notification bell, IDGAF, I totally get it. I don't like my phone dinging. I don't like those little red bubbles. I get it. So if you want to, go for it. If you don't. If you're interested in donating to my channel, the links are in the description box as well as my about section. Stay tuned. Don't miss out, because I am going to be, announcing changes in the future. I don't want to put a definitive on it out there yet. There's a lot. There's a lot that Spirit and I are working on. Spirit's like, a lot of what? Yeah. Anyway, but before we go, there is a post on my community tab. If you go to the Chemistry with Kismet Tarot channel and go to the community tab, there is a post that goes along with this reading. There are 4 images, each one correlated to the piles that were from the smoke cleanse that I did prior to doing the reading. And if you choose to, you can use that picture as a meditative guide to receive further messages from your guides and your ancestors regarding all of this. So now that we have had a nice long reading, I'm going to leave it here. Pile 2, I love you all. I will see you at my next one. Bye. Hello, pile 3. If you chose the 3rd card, the botanist, this is all about the illusions that you are lifting. So I took a break in between filming piles 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And when I set your pile and your energy up, the first thing that I noticed is the overarching energy, which is represented by the Ace of Swords here with the back of the deck energy. And this has been a collective theme, but for you, pile 3, this is where you're at, which inevitably, for me at least, indicates that you are in an energy of clarity. The whole world right now is struggling, striving, fighting, falling, trying to find the answers, trying to find the clarity, trying to reveal the illusions. And you, pile 3, you are the rare collective that is sitting in that energy that the rest of the world is seeking. I totally just got distracted by the fact that there was a jumping spider on my windowsill. Some of you may want to look up the significance of a jumping spider. However, I am getting a message about that is related to your botanist card. So the botanist says parenthood and legacy. But when I think of a botanist, I think about what it takes to become that. It's about understanding the nature of the plant kingdom. It's humanizing it, personalizing it, giving it, I can't remember what the word for it is, the personification of plants. You understand the nature of their life and death cycles. You understand how enduring that world and that kingdom is, and you hold it in high regard. This may be my collective of witches and Wiccans and pagans, the ones who understand the nature of the elements, of Mother Nature, of Gaia, of the Divine Mother, the Divine Father, the cosmos, but also the ground beneath our feet. You understand, and this was a message that came through to me, I want to say 3 or 4 days ago, and now I understand the application of it. When this world crumbles, when humanity goes extinct, for we have seen throughout history with many different cultures and peoples and ages that this is an inevitable thing. No matter how many times we try to intuit or science our way into when it might happen, how it might happen, and what we can do to prevent it, we cannot prevent it, for it will come. And newness will awaken. It's the evolutionary nature. When we have left this place, the structures we build and the vehicles that we drive and the marks that we have left upon this planet will remain, but they will not remain untouched. They will not remain as standing relics in museums. No, they will be inhabited. They will be inhabited by Mother Nature, by the plant and animal kingdom. The legacy that we leave behind in this world, we can oftentimes lose ourselves in it. I'm a parent myself. I've got 4 kids. I always think about what I'm leaving behind when I'm gone as an adult child of sorry guys, there's a plane flying overhead. I have to pause it and let my dogs in because they're spraying for mosquitoes. Give me one moment. Okay, pile 3, thank you so much. It was actually a helicopter. I live outside of an Air Force base and they've been doing a lot of drills lately. Or so it would seem. Could just be their monthly transits or whatever. Anyway, we don't want to go down that road. That actually kind of plays in here. What I was saying is, as an adult child of a loss of a parent, and not because of divorce or abandonment, but because of death, when I became a mom, it was intensely, incredibly terrifying. Not just because I was a teenage mom, but because I knew what it meant to lose a parent. I knew the impact. I always thought my greatest fear would be losing my mom, becoming an orphan, until I became a parent and I realized that my greatest fear is losing my children or them losing me. When I was pregnant with my daughter, Izzy, who just turned 15, I had severe, serious complications with her pregnancy. She was a twin like I was, and I lost her twin sister at about, I think it was 9 weeks, 5 days. I ended up in the hospital and had miscarried her twin sister. And because of my chimerism, we didn't know about my chimerism at the time. But because of it, we didn't know that I have 2 different blood types. And my body was fighting hers and vice versa. And I went into preterm labor, and I was in and out of the hospital. They put me on magnesium drips. They talked about having to, this might be a trigger warning. I just heard trigger warning. So if any of you have had complicated pregnancies and you are navigating through the emotions of that, this may not be the time for you to hear, or this may help you know that you're not alone in the trauma and the healing of what happens when you have these things. But they had talked about sewing my cervix shut at 6 months to stop it because the magnesium was negatively impacting my body. And I was terrified. And I remember having to sit down with the doctors and answer questions like, in the event of a hemorrhage, in the event of an emergency, if there is a need to choose, what are your wishes? We need to have it documented. It was very similar to making an advance directive, except it had nothing to do with me and chronic illness. It had to do with my life versus my child's life. And I didn't bat an eye when I said, you save her. You save her. Give her a life, give her a chance. Save her. And it was terrifying because I already had a 5-year-old and this was something that we were facing, and I was so scared. But I didn't want to face any kind of future that did not involve Izzy being in it, nor did I want to even fathom what comes with a legacy of shame and blame and guilt for choosing myself over the life of my child. And in that, I changed as a person. When we, even if you're not a parent, but when we understand that the connections that we build in this life, those are the legacy that we leave behind, it gives us an abundance of clarity. And I'm a person that has struggled with mental health. I have struggled with severe depression. I have struggled with anxiety. I am neurodivergent. I have a incredibly severe form of ADD, ADHD combined type with crazy genetics that are hardly impacted by my medication. And I have to be on my medication no matter what. But it could have been a hindrance or it could be a benefit. When we're thinking about the legacy that we're leaving behind, the things that we have in our hands, when we're looking outside of ourselves, it takes an incredibly strong soul to see the beauty in everything and the ways in which our own beauty amplifies the beauty of other things, the things that we create with our hands, the things that we, as women, no offense, guys, but as women, create with our body and the beauty of that. I look at the botanist and I think about how those hands are cupping the flower, and it is so similar to how a parent holds their infant's head to give them a bath. Whether this is about you in regards to the earth, you in regards to a craft, you in regards to some form of creativity, you in regards to your inner child or your children, going through the healing process because you understand that there is a legacy you're building in this world, a legacy you're building in your life, and not just a financial legacy, because we don't take our money with us. You're in a place that the clarity that you have been working so diligently upon gaining in your life is how to see beyond what legacy means, how to pierce that veil and see the truth of what a legacy is. And legacy is what we leave behind emotionally and spiritually within the people and the family and the plants and the connection to Gaia. What we leave behind that comes from our heart and soul. Pile 3, I want to say I said this in my last reading, but this energy is so profoundly advanced and incredibly beautiful. It is a true honor to have you here on my channel. So I want to talk about the cards, and I love that this was your core energy, and all of these cards are upright for you. All of the oracle cards are upright for you. And no matter how hard I said, can I please not see the cards? I prefer not seeing the cards. I prefer the immersive experience of you and I discovering together the channeled messages and the card messages and how they intertwine and how they confirm each other. But all of these came up, and no matter how many times I was like, no, I would prefer it this way, the cards, your guides, your ancestors were adamant about it won't work. Not a chance. And I didn't fully grasp the reasoning until the Ace of Swords was your back of the deck energy. I'm going to give you guys a little caveat. Every pile has had the Ace of Swords come in, and we are talking about illusions that you are lifting. This is the work that you have been doing. Yes, your guides have helped. Yes, your ancestors have helped, but they have helped. You're doing the heavy lifting. But all of the other piles thus far have been in the story of finding clarity, in the process of it, seeking it, on the cusp of finding it. You're in it. You are in it. You are the victorious awareness. And it isn't a prideful or boastful victorious awareness. It's one that comes with knowing the cost of clarity, knowing the cost of lifting illusions. It's a hefty price. I know it myself. It's a hefty price to be in a state of clarity. But there's also great benefit to it, which leads me into the Solitary Witch Oracle with the Sweet Ostara Harvest. This is all about your magical self right now. Now, Ostara is the Sabbat of the spring equinox. But this says harvest, which is usually associated with Mabon, Ostara's opposite. And I love this message because the card and the book talks a lot about harvesting in the springtime and the fruits of the labor and starting anew and starting fresh and creativity and that spark and all of that. And we always hear in the spiritual community, in the world, we hear about harvest and we think fall. And I live in a farming state. I grew up in a very small farming community. So harvest was always when the combines were out. And that was always like August until October, November area. And that was always harvest to me. And so what this is indicating is that you understand the nature that creativity moves and flows in its own cycles and its own seasons. The moon transits its orbit in about 28 to 29 days. And it goes through an entire moon cycle. It goes through all of the 8 phases, primary and secondary, just like the 8 sabbats of the year. It goes through these things every month. Every month there is a planting, a nurturing, a growing, a harvest, and a time of lying fallow to rejuvenate and regenerate, to repeat this cycle. This is you understanding that there is an honoring of the natural flow, the natural cycles. Oh my God, did you guys see that? There was like an orb of light that came through here. I don't know if you guys saw it, but that was pretty cool. I haven't had those for a while, so it's really nice to see again. Yay. Anyway, there is a natural cycle and a natural flow of seasons and energies within the world. And it's indicated by the sun's transit and the change in the weather and the growth and then the death of the plant kingdom and all of that. And that is Mother Gaia's natural cycle. And then the moon has its own natural cycle. And then the zodiac, the astrological zodiac, whether you study sidereal or tropical, has its own natural flow and rhythm and cycles. And we too have our own natural flow and cycles and rhythms. And understanding that everyone operates on a different time scale, on a different time pattern, on a different cycle in that way, but we interact with each other and we flow with each other. You can harvest during Ostara. During the spring planting season, you may be in your harvest season. And that is how you flow together because you understand the nature of these things in harmony with each other. And your magical self is able to access and harmonize all sorts of different things together, just like a flower garden filled with a variety of wildflowers, where normally you would think this should be here, and then you separate this plant and you separate this plant. But again, we're coming back to when this world ends, or when humanity ends, our structure and our guidelines and our rules for the plant kingdom won't apply whatsoever. They grow together. They flow together. They work together. Different plants, different animals, different everything. They have their own symbiosis. And your clarity comes from understanding the great teacher that is the natural world, gaining clarity from that so that you can also teach that. And that is the nature of parenthood, is we are perpetual teachers. We're perpetual teachers, perpetual guides, the ones that will always seemingly have the answers when we don't have any answers at all. So we're going to move on. So Beltane here is the Beltane Oracle card. These are the seasons of the witch. And I chose to pick all 3 because it helped to kind of separate things into, it's like compartmentalizing. I don't tend to flow with the natural or the not natural, but the societal ideation of what time is. Like I view the calendar that I have on my wall as a structured box that we like to put ourselves into because of time, but I keep it on the wall so that I have some guidance when I wake up in the morning and I'm like, what day is it? What month is it? What's going on? Because I've been working for the past 2 years on just flowing with the astrological time rather than anything else. So I can usually tell you what the transits are. Right now I can't, just because my life has kind of taken over, but can usually tell you that, but I can't tell you what the day of the week is. So we have here this Beltane one, and then we have Mabon here, which is, Mabon. You have Ostara and you have Ostara up here. So you literally have Ostara, Beltane, Mabon, and Samhain. So Mabon is Libra season and the autumnal equinox. And then Samhain is also known as All Hallows Eve or Halloween. Beltane is your recent past that brought you into a state of needing to evaluate deeper. And I'm not going to be able to pick these up. My nails have not been getting along with the cards that are like suctioning themselves to the desk. So I'm going to read them. You can see the imagery actually significantly better than other piles today. So we have the Green Man on the card number 15, and it says, all that I desire comes to me easily and effortlessly. I know this to be true, for I am abundant in all that I do. So the Green Man, and again, I get such a strong witch and pagan energy from you guys. I love it. It's so beautiful. But the Green Man talks about the god. You can associate the Green Man with Cernunnos, the horned god. But with the card number 15 here, it also signifies the ways in which the world will structure this archetype energy into the devil. And in the recent past, you started understanding that structures of things outside of yourself that don't make sense to you for whatever reason, to live in a state of fear of those has been what has been holding your abundance back. And it's almost like the most simplistic, I just flipped a light switch and now the light is on and now I know, now I see, now I'm aware. But to make the choice, and now I'm being brought to when I made the choice to study witchcraft, to practice, to learn, to deviate from the very religious upbringing I had and the very ingrained family history that my family has within the church. I mean, I have pastors in my family, and I went to summer Bible camp for years and years and years of my life and grew up in church and youth group and the whole nine. When you make that decision, when you make that commitment, there's an upheaval that comes from it. And this again comes back to the legacy thing of what was the legacy when you came into the world, and what legacy do you want to leave behind? Do you want to continue that legacy of the generations who came before you, who set you in your footsteps as a child? Or are you choosing to break free of that? And the sweet Ostara harvest, along with the Green Man, tells me that you've recently stepped into this magical energy where you realize what I want to leave behind is what I want to, it's what I want to encompass my life with. It's what I want to experience with the fullness, the totality of my being here in this life. So that's a legacy that I want to leave behind, is the freedom to choose the path and the cycles and the energies and the abundant life and the richness in this world that this world has to offer without it being structured around fear. So the Mabon card represents the coming release, what you're working towards releasing that will, whoa, okay. I literally just heard will definitively, permanently shift your inner divine truth. And then I saw ripples on a pond, and then I saw like bloodline like spreading through and a kind of stopping point behind you, though, not in front of you, behind you. It's like you're putting a definitive end to a specific generational ancestral fear within the very blood that flows through your veins that will impact generations to come from this point forward. Holy shit. Okay. So we have tea magic. It says, reach into your subconscious, pull from the source, and weave magic with intention, and the answers will unfold. A life lived intentionally, a life lived naturally, and naturally to your definition, not mine, not the next tarot readers, not whatever any spiritual guru or science, whatever tells you, but what you define as a life lived naturally. Because for me, I live as natural as I can. And this year is the first year that I have really engaged in any kind of foraging. But we all were birthed into a modern world for a reason. And that is because despite the struggles and the hardships of the modern world, the resources that we have readily available by just like pulling up Amazon or going online are far greater than any of our ancestors ever had. However, I feel like this pile understands how to balance that out, how to utilize the readily available resources while also getting your hands dirty, getting in the dirt, doing the work, doing the actual labor of love, of gardening, and in gardening in whatever context you want to view it. We're using a lot of metaphors here. However, it is literal for some of you. I can feel that. But when we're working with tea magic, something that I've been doing a lot lately, actually, we're learning how to blend our energies and our cycles with the energies and the cycles of the natural world, setting intention and flowing together. And while there's a multitude of resources out there, the experience of it does not, or the resources and the knowledge that are written and available to us does not outweigh the value and the wisdom that comes from the experience of it. So the release that you're doing is not holding yourself back. Like there may be a revelation that you have moved through or that is occurring in which you realize how certain fears have almost masked themselves in manifestation in your life. And you're moving through those while still understanding that they exist within you, so that moving forward, you can realize the subconscious fears and utilize an intention of using the natural world to move through it. It's like a really beautiful way of doing shadow work hand in hand with Mother Nature. Dude, I want to know how you guys are doing this. Okay. I did not expect your guys' message to be like this. I'm floored. All right. With the Samhain card, this is the ancestral wisdom that you have available to you. And it says reflection. Be wary of things you believe to see with eyes wide shut, for they are mirrors of the mad and truths only spoken with a bleeding tongue. Yeah. See, your ancestors, and this is true for mine as well, and I think this is true for many of ours, our ancestors lived in a state of continual fear. It was almost compulsive. If you think about the nature of the Roman Catholic Church and the way the Bible was changed and the way that they operated, they literally sowed fear into the collective unconscious surrounding any kind of belief system in order to exalt themselves and become the most powerful ruler, really, without ever having to rule. And that energy does not just dissipate if you come from a line that has left the church. It doesn't dissipate if you are a third or fourth generation witch or Wiccan or shaman. That doesn't dissipate because that is coded in our DNA, buried in our subconscious and unconscious minds. We all know about the bloodshed of the spread of Christianity. It's not like they went knocking on the doors and were like, let me tell you about Jesus Christ. No, they said you can practice your religion, but you'll practice it in the afterlife because you'll meet my sword. And that's how they operated. They operated in fear. They sowed fear. And therefore, your ancestral wisdom that is coming forth is this awareness of how fear gets reflected back to you, how to recognize it, and how others see within you something that they fear even deeper than any fears that you carry, which is freedom, which is truth, which is clarity, which is choice. Keep doing this, pile 3. The world literally needs that. You guys remind me of Alyssa from Celtic Fairy Tarot. She very much carries energy just like this, where, yeah, the rest of the world may see things this way, but I understand more, I understand deeper, and I may trigger you, but I'm doing it out of love. And that is the nature of the world. The physical manifestation of Gaia kind of world, not the societal world. So I want to look at the tarot cards. These are just an additional message for you. Your guys' energy is totally different than any other one. So let's see. Legacy, 9 of Pentacles, 8 of Pentacles, 8 of Swords. Oh, and the Empress. Well, damn. Okay. All right. What I'm seeing here, especially with it starting with a 9 of Pentacles, this is literally like your guides and your ancestors are saying, you don't really need us to tell you this because it's the most simplistic message. You don't need us to tell you this, but you have learned how to step into your power. You have learned that you are mastering the art of freedom from stagnancy and realizing that if you can, it's almost as if you sense the 8 of Swords energy trying to take over you and you're like, you're just a ball of yarn. I'm just going to play with you. We get tangled up together. It's going to be fun. And it's like all these things that we think about the 8 of Swords and we're like, I'm so stuck. I get that way. Like I'm stuck. I don't know a way out. There's no way out. What do I do? You're like, I'm going to play with this energy, because when you play with that energy, you actually learn how the energy challenges your own mastery. And so you're mastering the art of playing with fire in a way that is like, we say you're playing with fire as a warning, and you're like, I'm playing with fire. I'm playing with fire. Why? Because I understand the nature of the element of fire. So it's not a danger for me because I respect it. And if I respect it, then it respects me. So we're going to just kind of work together, flow together, and test each other. And it's fun for me. It's just a toy. And you're passing this wisdom on, whether it's to your children or out in the world in some sort of creative endeavor. That is what this Empress is saying. You already know what you want to create, or if you don't, if you haven't, I'm hearing pinned it down. If you haven't narrowed it down because, you understand the expansive nature of creativity, if you haven't pinned or limited it down quite yet, that's because you still need to play around with the idea that it has to be a singular definition rather than, let me just do this and this and this and this, and I'm going to call it one thing, even though it's a multitude of things. It's kind of jack of all trades energy. And because you're in this clarity energy, you literally have a mastery of your own abundance, your own growth, your own prowess, your own creativity, and you're passing that on. Please pass it on. I can't emphasize enough for you, pile 3, and I'm going to be completely like raw level vulnerability for me right now. Please pass it on, because this world is losing hope, and many of us are losing hope. And I myself struggle a lot. I struggle a lot with hopelessness. It is one of my core wounds that I navigate through. Your energy gives me hope. Your energy gives me hope. And if your energy can give me hope in the place that I have been at on a personal level, from my heart to yours, please know that you've changed a life. Please know that what you are doing and what you have gained is a beautiful blessing, no matter how heavy the cost was. Thank you for doing it. But whether it's through children, whether it's through planting a freaking tree with some sort of intentional wisdom, that when the roots grow deep and the trunk grows tall, that the leaves will spread, and anyone who touches or walks under or steps on the fallen leaves will gain a little bit of the clarity that you have found. Please do it. This world needs the hope and the beauty that you carry within you. And thank you. Okay. Pile 3. This is your message. Thank you for sitting here for, 40 minutes with me. I haven't done channeling this long in a very long time, but it feels really good to just let the messages flow through in the time that they want to, and to just sit with you guys for a while, because I have needed this community, and I needed to interact with this energy. So thank you. Thank you to your guides, my guides, the Great Spirit, and all the ancestors for the blessing that was this interaction and this message. Thank you for allowing me to be the one to bring it forth for pile 3. Thank you. All right, pile 3, I love you guys so much. If you guys want to engage in symbiosis with me, liking, sharing, subscribing. If you don't want to hit the notification bell, I get it. I'm like midway through breaking out of isolation just to get into hermit phase kind of energy myself. And I tend to keep my phone and my life pretty silent right now. So I do understand. If you would like to donate to my channel, there are links in the description box. And a great equal energy exchange is watching ads. essentially just if you guys want to interact, I'd be honored. So pile 3, this is what I have for you. Thank you again for being here. I love you guys so, so much, and I will see you at my next reading. Bye. Hello, pile 4. So I am officially on my 3rd day of filming this reading, as well as it having been the energy that I needed to spend the most time in as far as the whole reading overall, with it taking 2 weeks of setting the intention to do this reading, allowing the energies to come through, allowing myself to sit with it, to move through it in a big way. Your energy is the primary one that I was experiencing. Now, pile 4. You guys are my incredibly advanced spiritual pile on most days and readings. This is no different than that. The energy that we're working with right now, the overarching energy, is signified by the Tower card. So you're living in the Tower energy. This reading is about how you yourself are lifting illusions. The card that you chose is the Runaway, and it talks about secrets and running from your problems, but it has a bird cage, and the bird cage has an open door. And when we run from our problems, we're sitting in the bird cage and we don't see the door. All we see is we're in a cage. There are bars, and we are stuck in this tiny confined space while we can see out and see the whole world around us, but we can't get there, except the bird cage is open, and it's an illusion that we are stuck in that cage. Now, this cage can represent anything in your life. It can represent a relationship. It can represent a mindset. It can represent a job. Whatever the manner it is being represented in your life, the longer that this energy continues, the more you know it's a necessity to enact the Tower energy. And in that way, it actually takes some of the potency off of that lightning strike, because you know it's coming and you know it's necessary. You may not always know how to go about doing it. And I've been in that situation myself many times. I really thought that I was going to come here and I was going to do how I normally do. Spirit would filter through my experiences. And because that is what I expected, I needed a lot more reflection time, a lot more time working through some of the things going on in my personal life. And now, as I'm sitting here, your guides, your ancestors, the divine are redirecting, because it's not about the Tower. It's not about the outside situation. This entire lifting of illusions for you is 100% about your inside world, and especially your emotions. The Runaway card is water energy, and we can run away from the things that feel too much. We can run away from the things that we know and the things that we're experiencing because we think it's too hard to face. We think that we can't handle it, or we don't know how to navigate through the destruction. And as you can see, the Tower here as the overarching energy, the cat in front of the Tower is right here and meowing, and it's a black cat. And there are many times throughout history that we can see where people believe that black cats are bad luck. The black cat feels like you, as though you feel like you're cursed. You feel like you're bad luck. You feel like I try and I try and I try and I do all of this and I have all of this awareness and all of this spiritual elevation and ascension and consciousness. I know my path. I know my purpose. I know my truth. I know I'm a genuinely good person. So why do I feel stuck? Why do I know all these things? Why do I have all these gifts within me and dreams? Why am I filled so full of spirit and purpose and passion? And happens, fill in the blank of that space, whatever it is. And it could be something that is fluid and changing. This happens or that happens. Someone hurts me. Someone betrays me. I am deceived. Or I try and I try and I try to help those around me, but they never see me. They never hear me. They never change. Is there something wrong with me? Am I cursed? Am I bad luck? All of these thoughts, these feelings, the longer that you keep yourself in this cage, the longer you choose to look at the back of the cage instead of the door to see that you're not trapped in this cage, in this illusion of this tormenting mindset. The longer you're stabbing swords into yourself, and the longer that you stab swords into yourself, you allow for other people to do it too. One of the things that I've been working through is my own stripping away of illusions and lifting of illusions in regards to self-blame. And self-blame has been linked to childhood trauma and neglect. And we can look back at our childhood and think, I wasn't traumatized or I wasn't neglected, or we know definitively that we are. But if your emotional body and your emotions that you expressed as a child were not properly nurtured, if you weren't told that that you were safe to have them, that they weren't wrong, that you weren't wrong, it constitutes emotional neglect. And I didn't realize that until I was led to understand more. But when we're kids, we don't understand that the world doesn't revolve around us. We don't understand that our parents are adults with their own lives and their own problems and things that we don't know and things that we don't understand. All we know is mommy and daddy are not loving me. And if they don't love me, then I must be wrong. I must be doing something wrong. And so I have to be better. I have to do better. And as a kid, we don't have that regulatory awareness. So we go from extremes of being the poster child to being the terror. And I myself was very similar to that. Over time, the less that we're told that it's safe to be ourselves, that we're nurtured, that we're told we're capable of this or that, we realize that we're the ones building that cage once we reach adulthood and spiritual awakening. And if you're on this part of the journey, if this is resonating with you, you're not regressing. You're not backtracking. You're not being karmically punished or pummeled or pulverized. Wow, alliteration, thank you. You're not any of those things. What you are is stepping into this magical self of you where you're nearing skyclad. Now, skyclad is when you are called into the darkness of the night, when you're called to tap into the magic that exists there, to hear the wind in the trees that are beckoning you to strip away the clothing that weighs on your body, to strip yourself bare and to allow for the wisdom of the evening sky, of the moon and the stars and the trees and the fae and the magic that exists in a place that people fear because it's dark, you can't see everything, but there is true magic in that place. You are at a place right now where you are nearing this point of stripping yourself bare. And when we approach stripping ourselves bare in order to be our most authentic self, to be as genuine as we desire to be, as we're called to be a part of ourselves that we hide away because this world is filled with pain. And that part of us is so sacred that we want to protect it like a bird in a cage. The longer you hold that part in and you don't allow it to fly free, the longer you sit in the cage in your life, that part of you, whether it's your inner child, whether it is your calling to spirituality, your calling to this place or that place, or this experience or this practice, whatever it is, the longer that you hold yourself back, the more powerful that calling is. And that means that even if you're prepared for the lightning strike, it will still be utterly overwhelming. The energy that has led you to this point, to this reading right here and right now, is the bonfire energy. And it says, it is through remembering that you will wake the ritual of your existence and be reborn in mighty celebration. It is through remembering. A lot of the times on the spiritual journey, we're called to let go, to surrender, to leave the past in the past, to release the past. When we release the past, I believe, my truth is that we need to look at it. We need to see it. We are releasing it. So to release it fully, the lesson must be learned. Otherwise, we release a part of it and then it nags at us and then we reject it. And that brings us right back to the runaway and running from our problems. Because why isn't this shifting? I have all this awareness. Why isn't this shifting? It's not shifting because you're not allowing yourself to view the past, to view that time where you were staring at the back of the cage instead of having turned around, to look at all the things that you witnessed as you looked through the bars, all of the observations that you made and the awarenesses that you gained from that. What lessons did you learn about shrouding yourself in inauthenticity, not being your truest self? What were those lessons? What have you taken from them? Have you gotten everything out of that you can? We have these passions within us for a reason, but when we want to live a passionate life, we have to understand that passion is fueled by fire. And fire burns bright and scorches. And what is required of that is water to replenish, to temper, to tame, to put it out if needed. You're in a very strong fiery energy, fueling it with your mind, with these 10 of Swords. When you're called to the 8 of Cups, you're called to the water element. You're called to look at all of these cups in your life, good, bad, and otherwise. Look at all the ways that other people have changed their own lives or stayed stagnant. What have you learned from that? See, here now I'm being brought to a lesson I learned recently. When I was the general manager of Planet Fitness, I realized that the most authentic that we can be is to be the same person on the inside as we are on the outside. people aren't always going to understand that. They won't always align to that. But if we are putting up a face, a front, like Planet Fitness putting up, their vision, their mission, but your inner workings don't align with that. You are not operating out of what you say is your truth. You create that dissonance and you feed that negativity. So look back at those moments where you realized, I really should be my truest self. I really should live in my truth. I really should embrace all that I am and show the world that, because I deserve that and the world deserves that. And it blesses both of us. Now you're nearing Skyclad. Now you're moving from this 8 of Cups into the 3 of Pentacles. Now you're realizing that you are capable of having true and genuine connections with others and building with others. Even though you may share the same mindset, you are very different people, and honoring those differences and honoring who you are and building from there means that you can build a joint vision that is true to everyone. And it is authentic and genuine. Now, a lot of the times, this 3 of Pentacles will talk about building something out in the outside world. Whatever you want to view it as. Right now, the energy that I'm picking up is earth energy. This is about grounding something that you want to build within yourself. You want to, what do you want, pile 4? What is it that you desire? What is it that makes you feel that frustrated energy? Don't run from it anymore, but face it. And that is what your guides are saying you're doing. You're facing it. You've turned around. You realize the door has been open. And instead of feeling stupid, or instead of taking the blame for all the shit that has gone wrong because you've been in this cage, you're saying, what am I learning in this cage? If the door is open and I can go, if I run, if I fly, if I flee, what secrets are still being kept within me? What lies am I telling myself? What illusions am I weaving? Because the more you put off that energy because you're doing it to yourself, the more that energy is what the universe will reflect back to you. Now is the time for you to strip it down and look at it. Look at the hopes, look at the dreams, look at the wishes, look at the past, look at the experiences. Look at it and realize how different you are from it now. Does that mean that your hopes and your wishes and your dreams and your goals and your aspirations and whatever you want for your life isn't meant to happen because you're a different person than you were when you developed the dream and the vision? No. It means that you are learning that there are so many different layers and facets and being within you. You are multifaceted. You have all of these different parts of you. And when that dream was created, it was created from a very innocent, very true, genuine place. I know I almost heard or felt an expectation of me saying naive. You were not naive to hope and wish and dream to be out of the cage. You want connection in some way, shape, or form. Now, the 2 of Cups is a connection to another. They're not the same either, but they see each other. They see each other. They choose to come together and to look at it all, to share, to commune together. This could be you with your higher self, you with your past self, you with your future self. As much as these cards usually speak about the outside world, remember, we started this with your guide saying this is all about you, pile 4. This is about you and how you work with you. This is about you coming to a point where you have stripped yourself bare so you don't have to keep breaking yourself down in order to rebuild, because you have stripped yourself bare to the bare bones, to the bare foundation, so that you can grow. Doing this, being this level of vulnerable, being this level of open and intimate on a wide scale is incredibly challenging, especially when you have gone through things like the 10 of Swords, the 8 of Cups, when you have had shattered illusions, when you have had to look at something and say, oh shit, this really is how it is. This is really how things are going. This is really what is going on. And you realize how much illusions are running your life. A weaker person than you would falter. They would remain in the 10 of Swords. They wouldn't know how to get out of it because all they would see is the destruction. Other avenues would be blaming someone else. Well, it was because of this. It was because of that. I see and hear that a lot, especially with the younger generation. Well, my parents this and my parents that. And yeah, you know what? I'm a parent. I'm not always perfect and I do my best. And my parents weren't perfect and they did their best that they knew how to do. But as adults, as consciously aware spiritual beings, it is our job to say, we're all injured. We're all wounded. I don't take the blame for this person's actions that hurt me, but I do understand my role and my responsibility in the situation. And doing that, a little bug on the 3 of Pentacles. Interesting. Doing that gives you the opportunity to not take the blame, but to see every interaction in our life is a two-way street. Nothing is solely one person's fault. Nothing is solely your fault. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. And once you can't unsee it, you can't unfeel it. But you can run from it if you choose. Where you're at in your journey is realizing how much you have wanted to run and fought running, have tried to run and then not gone anywhere. The cage door is open so you could flee, you could run. But would you value the cage itself and the time that you spent in it if you ran away? Would you get everything you could out of it? Could you take that cage, leave the door open, and transform it into a safe space, a safe place, your home, where you always have something steady to return back to when you do choose to spread your wings and fly? So let's see here what this is, the coming energy for release. I'm struggling with the cards. Okay. Okay, little buggy. There we go. All right. So over time, at least until September is what I'm hearing, because I'm getting a lot of Venus retrograding energy here. The Queen of the Dead card energy is coming forth. It says, "Fear not the rage of fire living within, for it is the power of your fierceness waiting to taste you fully." I was journaling last night because I wanted to clear my energy. I wanted to purify my energy. I was going to come back in here and film late last night, and it didn't feel right to me because I started feeling a lot of frustration within myself about certain things. And a lot of my frustration, I recognized, builds into this deeply repressed rage, and it explodes out, and it can cause such massive destruction, like the Tower card. I say things I don't mean, and I do things that I'm not proud of, and whatever. And I realized that energy within me, first of all, I realized the astrological implications for my chart, which kudos to me and my guides for guiding me there, because I've been struggling with that energy for a while. But I realized that frustration, that repressed rage, when I know it's there and I understand the trigger point, I understand what that spark that lit the fire is, and I know that I can use my voice to do something about it, that's when my warrior spirit comes out. There's so much fire energy here. There's so much fire energy here calling to you, surrounding you. The energy that you're in is very fiery, but you're consumed in the mind with your feminine energy, with your emotionality, with your sense of safety and security, with your intuition, and whether or not it's leading you astray or what's going on. Your mind is consumed with your emotions because your emotions are not being let out, and that is fueling the fire because you're feeding it. That's how fire grows, is it needs oxygen to expand and to grow. The more that you breathe into this mindset, this negativity, these experiences in the same way that you were before, the more you're remaining as the fish in the bowl or the bird in the cage and not realizing that you're the cat viewing it, observing it, so that you can come to revelation about it. So this is the ancestral wisdom available to you. Oh my God. You literally got the card Ancestors. They hiss a quivering so deep, only roots to your soul can lift the nakedness hidden within the vows made in silence. An ancient chill walking upon the spine. Wow. It was powerful energy. And I see 243. So you might be seeing like 1243, 243. I'm wondering, why isn't it in succession? Like, why isn't it sequential numbers? When we start getting numbers that are one off from being a sequence, there's something that is in the wrong place within us. Your ancestors want you, first of all, to connect, but they want you to understand the choice that your soul made, the contract that your soul made with them. And they don't want you to utilize the normal avenues. There's something that is calling to you, pulling at you. It's like a thread. There's a sweater, but all you can see is the thread. And you're worried that if you pull this thread, everything's going to unravel, but everything will unravel for you if you pull the thread. The sweater that it's attached to will unravel, and you'll be able to see the inner workings of the sweater, or sweater as a metaphor for your soul contract. You'll be able to see the pieces that made it up and how it has impacted the soul in the creation and the marks that were left in the unraveling. Okay. So I'm going to explain what I was seeing with that. I was hoping that I was translating it well. So I was seeing when I crochet and I realize I accidentally skipped a stitch, I have to frog back. I have to unravel it. So when I'm frogging back, something that I have noticed is the yarn is not straight anymore. It's kind of like putting a crimper through hair. You now have crimped yarn. It doesn't mean it's not usable. It doesn't mean it can't be reformed into whatever it is that you're creating with your, crocheting or knitting. It does. But the time it spends in that form leaves a mark. It changes the yarn. So while all of this is being lifted, as you are lifting all of this, you're also unraveling a lot of this contract so that you can understand more. And especially your Kundalini energy, especially your root chakra. They were not the only ones that called for you, but you were the one that chose them. I don't know necessarily what that means. I know what they're showing me, but it's like when you go to adopt a child and they have these binders of, just generalized information and pictures about the prospective parents or families who want to adopt. And they have the expectant mother go through the pictures and go through the information. And the ones that she feels drawn to or that she feels would be a good match, she pulls out of the binder, and then it goes a layer deeper and you get their personal binder and their personal story. And then it goes a layer deeper and you meet them. And then it goes a layer deeper once you choose them. So it's kind of like you went through a soul level adoption process where your soul was unattached to any one generational line. And your ancestors want you to know that they prayed for you, but you chose them. And this is not meant to anger you or to fuel that frustration or that rage, especially if you are in your waking life, in your conscious awareness, dealing with a lot of family trauma and drama. It's resonant. That's what your ancestors want you to discover. They want you to tap into them. They want you to try something different because there's a resonance that you are learning how to see. Learning how to see. This resonance is this power of your fierceness that you're ready to engage in. And we've got the snake here, but the moon is dark. You're nearing this sky-clad moment of walking through the darkness, the dark night, whether it's a dark night of the soul or just a literal dark night where the moon can't be seen, the stars are in the sky, but you just know it's time. It's time to strip this down. It's time to unravel. It's time to frog back and take a look. And you see the ways that it has melded and shaped you, not always for the worst, but for the better, because the illusion that you're working on lifting is not actually the cage, but it's the cat that believes it's bad luck because so many people have said something along those lines. And when we're in that energy, the most loving person can reach out and it can be hard for us to connect. This illusion that you're lifting, it's a lot of work. It is heavy work. It is heart exhausting, soul exhausting work. And every moment that you have felt like you were going to break and drop and give up, and you haven't, you are gaining an awareness of the fierceness within you, the warrior, and the nature of a true warrior. It's not always about donning the battle gear and the armor and going out and slashing with your sword. Sometimes it's about realizing that the biggest battles we can face are the ones within ourself, so that we can get out of these patterns and out of these cycles, so we can see why our soul made the choices they did. And the why doesn't change the fact that it's already happened, but understanding the why brings peace. And not a lot of people believe that, but I am a seeker by nature. I ask why. I want to know. I want to understand. Because when I understand, when I feel like I have come to a point of full understanding of all the different layers and dimensions of whether it's human behavior or the tarot cards or astrology or this or that, whatever it is, when I come to that place, I don't feel like I have to be on guard, but I also don't feel like I'm trapped. This is what your ancestors want you to get to, is this place of what you define as inner peace, inner authenticity, inner vulnerability, and intimacy with you. There are 3 songs on this sticky note, and I know you guys can mostly read it. Each one of these songs carries a similar yet different message. Each one of them has hit me and helped me in my life. Sleep Token is the newest one, but they have helped get me through really dark times. And I am sharing these with you because that's the energy I've been picking up from your pile. But it's also, I also want you to know that you're not alone in what you're going through, even though it is a solo journey. You are not the only one enduring the solo journey, because I am too. I am too. I see you. I feel your pain. I feel your anguish. I feel your confusion, but I also feel your strength. And it's okay to hold those dualities. It's okay to be all of those things. It's okay to let those emotions flow, because you're meant to run towards your dreams instead of away from your problems. And pile 4, before we go, I'm hearing a message of please be proud of yourself for everything that you have done. For yourself, for others, what you have endured, what you have survived, what you are standing or sitting here and existing within yourself as. Because this person that you are and the person that you are dedicated to embodying in this life is so beautiful and so rare, and you have such a hard time seeing it sometimes. Be proud of yourself, pile 4. It has not been an easy journey, and you are getting there. You are getting there. Okay, pile 4, this is the message I have for you. I want to say thank you so much to your guides, my guides, the Great Spirit, and our ancestors for coming in today, for filling this space and this reading with love, with understanding, with authenticity, with cut to the truth of the pain messages. And thank you for the safe space to be our most authentic self, me and all of the collective of pile 4. Thank you. Okay, pile 4, this is what I have for you. Thank you guys for being so patient. I know this reading came out later than I had said I was going to be posting it, but I really wanted to honor the energy, honor the reading, but also honor myself and make sure that I'm tending to what I need in my garden while also helping you guys receive what you need to. I appreciate the grace and the compassion that you guys give me on this channel, in this community. It's such a beautiful thing in troubling times, in great times. It's just amazing. I appreciate you guys. As always, if you guys are interested in doing an equal energy exchange, you can donate to my channel by going to the links in the description box. You can like this video, comment on it, subscribe to my channel, share the video if you want. I'm not going to ask you guys to turn on notifications if you don't want them on. I get it. I don't like having my notifications on either. So I totally understand. But yeah, that's a great way to support me. Thank you guys. Really, pile 4, thank you for being here. Thank you. I love you guys. I will see you at my next reading. Bye.